F1 fan Eric Ringle here, and we have just finished watching the Imola GP, and what dominance from Max Verstappen. He's now got a 100% winning percentage in races that he's finished in Formula One this year. Just absolutely dominating the field today as Max Verstappen finishes first, Sergio Perez finishes second, and a shock podium for Lando Norris finishing in third place. But we also have to talk about the absolute heartbreak that is Charles Leclerc. So towards the end of the race, with about 13 laps to go, Ferrari decides to make a switch to the soft tire, try to at least get an extra point for fastest lap of the race, and he got the fastest lap and then was starting to chase down Sergio Perez, who just, for some odd reason, wasn't responding as well on the soft tire. But Charles bins it in the chicane in the third sector and spins it coming off the, I don't know what the corner name is, but he spins it, almost beached it into the wall. Luckily, he only breaks a part of his front wing, but ends up having to pit for another set of soft tires, falls down to 8th. Falls down to 9th, passes Magnussen, passes Vettel, passes Tsunoda, was able to get back up into 6th place, which, I mean, great recovery drive, but I think Charles, I still think he's got those young, tendencies where he feels like he needs to, chase down and try to do too much. Which I think even he will readily admit, he tried to do too much in this race by, going to the soft tire, putting in the fastest lap, that's all well and good. But I think he saw the Red Bull and how, much better their setup was throughout this entire race. And just, I think he should have just settled for the third today and settled for the podium. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Was Charles trying a little bit too hard here, or was it just, catching bad luck, catching, a curb that spun him out? So let's go back to the beginning of the race just a little bit, as we had Daniel Ricciardo and Carlos Sainz come together in turn 1, and Ferrari, after announcing Carlos Sainz getting a new contract extension till 2024, Daniel Ricciardo makes contact in the middle of turn 1 with Carlos Sainz. They both spin into the dirt, and Carlos Sainz absolutely beaches it and ends up falling out of the race. And I mean, it's just absolute more and more heartbreak for Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari. You can start to see that he's also trying to push it a little bit too hard. I mean, with the Ferrari name, you're trying to get it back to the front of the field, and you're seeing your teammate Charles Leclerc, who's putting in great race after great race, and you feel kind of that point where you're like, I need to be doing the same things here. I need to be fighting for wins just like Charles is, and I think you're starting to see that he's trying too hard, and I think maybe the Binotto needs to have a sit down with him and just say, hey, it's gonna come. Just stay patient. We're only, this is the 4th or 5th race of the season? Be patient. We've still got 19 races to go. We need you to get a handle on this car first before you start chasing for wins. And we've seen that he's had a massively harder time with the porpoising issue in the Ferrari than maybe than his teammate, obviously, and some of the other cars that were in the field. So he ends up spinning out, and I post on Twitter, which you've got to follow my Twitter handle. I'm going to put it down here below. But in lap 1, I said K-Mag doing K-Mag things as he's able to make up 4 spots. He started to fall a little bit behind just off the start line, but able to make up 4 spots, get to 5th at the beginning of the race. And I was, with the rain and the prospects of more rain, I was getting really excited because if you watched all throughout practice and then the sprint race, or not in the sprint race, but all throughout practice, you were seeing that the Haas seemed to be running a little bit better when it came to running in the rain. Even Kevin Magnussen said after the first free practice that the car was reacting amazingly in the rain. We had great turn in. He felt like the car was really, on point. And unfortunately, the rain dried up. You could see cars through the first third of the race. You started to see them trying to find puddles just to keep the tires cool. Eventually, everybody goes in, pits for medium tires, and now you're seeing it. Middle of the race, I'm not going to lie, it turned into a little bit of a snooze fest, and I would be remiss without saying, and it was mentioned on the broadcast as well. I don't know what the race director was doing. So once the track started to dry out, Crofty, I think it's Paul DeResta or Anthony Davidson, one of them was making mention of the fact that how dry the straight was becoming, and they couldn't figure out why the DRS hadn't been opened, and I'm just, what was going on in the race director's head? What was going on that you couldn't have thrown the DRS on when they were still in the intermediate tire, when the track was drying out? You could have thrown it there. You could have gone ahead and turned the DRS on once everybody switched over to the dry tire. Was he just not paying attention to the race? Or, I don't get it. I swear, this was his look as he's sitting there trying to decide when to turn on the DRS. And I'm just puzzled by the decision. We made a big deal about Michael Massey at the beginning of the season, but, what are you doing? And I believe it was Wittich today that was running as the race director. So, Wittich, I don't know what you were doing. I hope that changes in future races like this, but, I just don't understand it, because Charles Leclerc was in DRS range for quite a period of time when they went to the medium tires on Sergio Perez, and had he had DRS, I have a feeling that he may have been able to pass Perez and maybe start to pull away and maybe chase after Verstappen. But like I said, throughout this race, Verstappen just absolutely dominated this race from the get-go. And congratulations to Max Verstappen. All right, so let's do the race rundown as far as where everybody finished. Obviously, Max Verstappen finishing first, Sergio Perez finishing second, Lando Norris finishing third. Great result here for George Russell as he's able to finish fourth. And this was a fantastic fight towards the very end of the race there with him and Valtteri Bottas. Bottas just was so close and just was not able to pull off the pass there at the very end. Then you had Charles Leclerc, was able to make a fantastic recovery drive, finishing sixth. You had Yuki Tsunoda finishing seventh. You had Sebastian Vettel finishing eighth. Great race for Aston Martin here. He's able to finish eighth. You had Kevin Magnussen finishing ninth. Lance Stroll finishing 10th. So great double points here for Aston Martin, who, at the beginning of the season, we were starting to write off on whether or not their car was going to be any good. Showed some definite signs this weekend that, maybe they're starting to turn a cheek, just like McLaren is, with Lando Norris finishing on the podium today. Then you had Alexander Albon finish 11th, Pierre Gasly finishing 12th, Lewis Hamilton finishing 13th. Sad sight in the middle of the race where Max Verstappen was lapping Lewis Hamilton. They made sure to mention it on the broadcast, obviously, but it definitely was kind of a sad sight to see. Then you had Esteban Ocon finish behind Lewis Hamilton in 14th. He did have a 5-second time penalty for an unsafe pit release on Lewis Hamilton when everybody was switching from the intermediates to the dries. So dropped back a few places here. Guan Yu Zhou finishing 15th, Nicholas Latifi 16th, Mick Schumacher finishing 17th, Daniel Ricciardo finishing 18th. Mick had an absolute nightmare on lap 1. As he was going into turn 2, in that little chicane at the very beginning, slid it right into Fernando Alonso, who DNF'd out of this race after his side pod blew out because of this incident. Mick Schumacher slid. Mick's back, it was his back left tire, caught the side pod of Fernando Alonso and absolutely spun it around. Mick just couldn't get anything going at that point, and it just ended up being a poor day for him. Like I said, Daniel Ricciardo finishing 18th. Fernando Alonso did not finish the race in 19th, and obviously Carlos Sainz finishing dead last, not able to even get past lap 1. So guys, let me know what you guys thought about the race in the comment section down below. What was your favorite part of the race? What were some of the highlights or even lowlights in this race? Let me know in that comment section down below. As this video is ending, you're going to see the points for the Drivers' Championship and the Constructors' Championship, so stay tuned for that as well. But guys, subscribe to my channel if you guys are new for more Formula One content on a almost daily basis. We've got a week off till Miami GP, so looking forward to the first United States Grand Prix of the season. So we'll be talking a little bit more about that, talking a little bit more about Formula One over this next week. But guys, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Slap a like on this video. And guys, for the American F1 fan, I'm Eric Ringo.
Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top, so you better back off and get lost. I'ma stay loud, stay proud.